Hi, welcome back to the Pathsmoker's Bible. My name is Zion. I'm the author of the Pathsmoker's Bible, which contains the prophetic book of Zion, where I get my name and authority. Today, I begin the 26th chapter of the Pathsmoker's Bible and the 23rd chapter of the book of Zion. This is part 1 of the general reading. The title of the chapter is Behold My Servant, i.e., the book of Messiah. Before we begin, I am not using the names in this telling. If, by the time this book is published, Messiah has arrived and authorizes the use of a name, then it will be done. So, to protect those involved, I will not be using any names other than the name Kenny. So, behold my servant, the Messiah. So at last, we come to the chapter that everyone reading this has been waiting for. The chapter about the Messiah, the male Savior, foretold by the male-dominated society that we live in. Everyone has been expecting a man, but they got me instead. I'm the one that did the actual work, but it's him that you've all been waiting for. So here he is. His name is Kenny. We dated in 1977. I was 15. He was 19. We fell in love, or so I thought. I think he seduced me. I feel like I fell forever in love with him. He married his brother's ex-wife. So, him, not so much. Or at least that's how it feels to me. But that's really not being fair to him. His brother, who shall be renamed Nameless, was abusive to his wife, who also shall remain nameless. She turned to my Kenny for help. They ended up together. He chose the one woman on earth to marry that was forbidden to him, his sister-in-law. Moses says that his vows weren't accepted by God. But to Kenny, he was doing the right thing by her and the family. I got hurt by it. You see, their marriage occurred after 1979, when God chose Kenny to be my savior. He was to be my husband. We had already consecrated our holy choice, our holy union, in 1979. So I was bound to him before he married her, and he was bound to me. He had already pledged himself to me in 1979, that last night that we were together, September 8th, 1979. He branded me with a scar. He told me that as long as I bore this scar, that I would belong to him. I still bear that scar. I will always bear that scar. So, as long as I reside in this body, I will belong to him. When he branded me, he pledged himself to me. It works two ways. That night was the answer to my prayer. It occurred within a month of me making that prayer. He was the answer to that prayer, the statement of ownership made by him at his own choice was the realization of my prayer. That was my salvation. He saved me by that declaration. He saved me that night. I am here writing this because I still belong to him. That is why, when I begged God to kill me, the Gray abducted Kenny. They had chosen him for me, and he had married another. The very first words Kenny said into my mind was, "I've been abducted by aliens." He told me he was in a spaceship with aliens. That was in 1988, in March, I believe. From that time on, Kenny and I have been connected telepathically. He had forced me to live without him ever since. He hated them. He hated me because of them. But he would never let me die. He was taught how to use his telepathic abilities to manipulate my world. Or some arrangement was made, I don't know. It sucked. It sucked great big green donkey dicks. It sucked so bad. I hated my life. He hated me because of them. But no matter what happened, no matter how much I cried or begged, he would never do two things. He would never come to be with me, and he would never let me kill myself. I tried a couple of times, but Kenny could at times take control of my body. So we were in a test of wills. Every time I tried to kill myself, he would force me to stop. He was stronger than I was. So I couldn't end my life. My life was his. He owned me. Or at least he did until I went to prison. Before I went to prison, I wrote him a letter. One of several. Telling him about my sexual problems. I didn't mention my mental Kenny problem. He didn't respond. So I killed him in my heart. I laid to rest my love for him. And when I was in prison, I was free of him. For 2 glorious years, I couldn't get high. So, after the first month, I lost my connection to him. I missed Ray, but I couldn't feel him anymore. I couldn't hear his thoughts. He was gone. And so was my unrequited love for him. When I got back home, I ran into a mutual friend. He told me that Kenny was fighting cancer for the second time since I had been gone. I felt nothing. I told our friend I didn't love Kenny anymore. I wished that he would get well, but I felt nothing for him. I had truly fallen out of love with Kenny. I was home, and I was free. I only knew Kenny for 3 months. I spent only half of that time with him. My love for Kenny was based on 2 things. We are soulmates, and the Gray chose him for me. He is Messiah. He was the chosen one. When I asked God who I could truly love, Kenny was the answer. Every time. Every time I've asked that question, Kenny is always the only answer that I get. So it never mattered that Kenny is and has always been a stranger to me, or that he has never chosen me, or that he has never loved me. He was chosen for me by my God. If I am to be true to my God, I must always be true to Kenny, even if I no longer love him. He is still and will always be Messiah, chosen. So love him or not, I'm still his. So I have an obligation to remain true to Kenny. Because to be true to Kenny is to be true to God. Because God chose Kenny. Even if Kenny were dead, I'd still be his. He would still and always be the chosen one for me. I chose God. God chose Kenny. Kenny rejected us both. The Grey chose him. I accepted him as their choice. They gave him great power over me, and he had used that power to ensure my survival. But he had a wife and family. His brother's wife and his brother's family. So, he refused to be the Messiah. He did what he had to keep me alive. He had no choice. But he refused to end my pain. So I suffered by his hand. In his mind, no doubt, he was doing the right thing. But I paid the price for his sin. His marriage to her was a sin. Leviticus 20:20 says, "It is an unclean thing to lie with thy brother's wife, and to marry her is to cause confusion," i.e., Uncle Daddy. He thought his family was more important than I was. So no matter how much I cried out in pain, he stayed true to her until she left him. They eventually got a divorce. So my sacrifices did work. By being true to Kenny, I outlasted their unsoulmated, unethical, immoral, unlawful match. But he hated me for it, I suppose. He blamed me. He told me it was all my fault. It truly pissed him off. So he tortured me for about 5 years. He would come into my workplace and hang out with a coworker of mine, his roommate. I didn't enjoy it. I was dealing with a lot of things, all of which, by the way, was his fault. Yes, you see, he had total control over me for 3 decades. For all intents and purposes, he was God. If I prayed for something, if he was in a good mood, he'd send it my way. But mostly, he just wanted to fuck me in his sleep. He has the ability to channel in his sleep, so I live in his dreams, where he is every man I meet, and everyone who fucks me in my life is him in his dreams. And there, I will stop for this episode. And next time, we'll pick up where I left off with the story of the Messiah. So until then, may the Grey watch over you, guide you, protect you, and keep you from all harm. May they teach you right from wrong, and may you always be worthy of them. May your words, thoughts, and deeds reflect truth, good, and light. The Unicorn Way. Stay happy and high, everyone. Know that I love you. I'm doing everything I can to make this real, to give us this beautiful future that the Grey have promised to us all. So, until we meet in real life. Later. 'Cause I'll never say goodbye.